Hello and welcome to Techie Talks AI. I am Afijit and today we are going to see about the second part of our three-part series where we are creating a contact form backend without no-code solutions. So in this video we are going to add intelligence to our no-code backend, and before we proceed with that one,
Hi, welcome to Techie Talks AI. I'm Sri from Shogni. On this channel, we showcase hands-on demos and insights into AI, automation, and no-code tools. We have created several make.com modules to simplify no-code automation for you. Subscribe and join us on this journey into the future of technology.
let me just recap what we saw in the first part. So this is what we saw in the first part. So we started with a contact form and then we connected the submit button action of our contact form to send the fill details to our make.com scenario, and inside our make.com scenario we had one webhook which was listening to that one, and this webhook is the one that will get all the details that are sent during our submission process. And using the Google Sheets module of make.com, we added the details to our Google Sheets. So this was the no-code automation that we saw during the first part. Now this is, like I mentioned, a very simple way using which you will be able to set up a contact form and to have the backend without you having to write any code. Now we want to automate this. We are going to automate this. So we are going to see how we'll be able to process the data that we receive from the contact form. Because in real world scenarios, you will have to process the message. If you are manually going to check each and every contact form, and if you have hundreds of contact form submissions a day or even a week, it will be very difficult for you to manage unless you have a very big team. So in this part we are going to see how we will be able to add some intelligence to the system so that the system can analyze the contact form submission message that it receives and identify the relevance of that particular message. It will identify relevance and it can categorize it into different sections based on the message type, so that we will be able to configure. Now to do that, I am going to show you how we can use a service that is already there in the market. It is a very popular service called Relevance AI. So we will see how we will be able to add our Relevance AI service, and then so this is our Relevance AI service, and using this Relevance AI service and this using Relevance AI account, we will see how we will be able to process this data that is there in the Google Sheet and then write it back to the Google Sheet. So the relevance and all the other details that we identify using Relevance AI, we will be writing it back to the Google Sheet. And this Relevance AI will have agents, so we will be configuring agents within this Relevance AI to process the data. So whatever data that we send, it will process the data, it will structure it into a particular format, it will be identifying the relevance, it will be checking which category it will come under, and then it will send it back to the Google Sheets. So this is what we are going to see today, how we can enable this. So let's get started. Here we have our contact form which we used during our first part, and the code for this contact form is already there in the GitHub repository that is mentioned in the description below. So please use it to get access to this sample contact form. Now in order to integrate with Relevance AI, what I did is I created an account with Relevance AI. So I created one free account. I have used a free account which will allow us to have 100 credits per day. Now once you create an account with Relevance AI, the first thing that you have to do will be to create a new agent. So you can click this button to create a new agent. And Relevance AI provides you with AI based interface chat system to generate the AI. So it will ask you what are the things that you need to have the agent perform, and it will intelligently create the agent for you. And here, see, this is the agent that I created for this particular demo that I am showing, which is analyzing our contact form. And this is the agent that we'll be using with Relevance AI to process our messages. So let's see what this agent looks like. So this is the agent that I have created with the help of Relevance AI, and there are two tools that will be used by this particular agent. So one tool will be to analyze the text sentiment to see what the contact form message that the user submitted means. So that is what this tool will do. And then I am using this agent to categorize those messages, contact form submission messages, into predefined categories. And I am providing those categories to it so that it can structure or group them into those different categories. So these are the two tools that are used by our Relevance AI agent. And here we are just adding some information about the company so that the agent can easily identify whether the contact message that was submitted will be relevant or not. So like this, you will be able to add one section. Then you will see the instruction. So what are the things that you want the agent to do once it gets the contact form information? So what are the things that it will have to do, etc. Okay, and here I also asked it to consider keywords that are related to these no code and AI and automation solutions, so that I'll know that whatever message that I am getting is relevant to these particular services. Then these are the categories, manual categories that I have given. I want all the messages to be categorized into any one of these 5 categories. So first one is lead. So this will be potential customers who will be seeking your service, whatever service that you are providing. So it will categorize into the lead category. Then support. So if you have an existing customer who wants to get support to some of the product that you have provided with them, then it will categorize it into the support category. Then partnership. So if there are new companies and new partners who want to collaborate with you, to have business alliance or partnership with you, that is when it will be making use of this category. Then general inquiry. So this is just generic information like pricing inquiry or your service inquiry, like that. So general inquiry. And finally, I have added another category for spam, because see, when you make a contact form online, there will be a lot of spam messages that you will be getting. There will be promotional messages, there will be completely spam messages, etc. that you will get. So we want to filter that out so that you will be able to ignore those messages. So that is where the spam category will come into. This is a very simple, short, but very useful set of categories that you will be able to use with almost any of the business that you are doing. So whatever business that you have, you should be able to just adapt these categories to meet your requirement. But these are generic, which will be applicable to most of the businesses. Now here I am also asking it to add one relevant score from 1 to 10, and these are some of the details which it will use to identify the score. It will be checking whether the keywords or key identifiers are there in the message, and if it is there, it will be given more prominence, and these key identifiers will be based on the service that you provide. And then if it is generic related to services, then it will be able to add the scores accordingly. And if something is not clear, the score will be less, and if it is a spam or really not relevant, then it will be very low. So this will ensure that we have a way to identify how relevant that particular message is at a single glance at this relevance score. Then you will see the priority level. So here I have configured my agent to prioritize the messages, whether it is high. If it is high, that means it is relevant with a relevance score between 8 to 10. Then medium means it has a relevance score from 5 to 7, which are general leads. And low means mostly spam and very low business fit. So like this, we will be able to have different groupings so that you will be able to easily understand what type of message that you have received, instead of you having to analyze in depth what each message is. Once you identify the high priority messages, you will be able to analyze in detail that message and see what are the actions that you should take, etc. This is the analysis process that it will be doing, the agent will be doing, and finally it will generate the output in JSON format, because that is the format that I want the output to be in, so that I will be able to easily process them. Now for better implementation, I am providing the output format. So I want the output to be in this format so that I will be able to easily integrate it with no code tools. So this is the JSON format, which will have clear key and the value available, so that I will be able to easily parse this JSON and get the relevant information without us having to go through any circus to perform that operation. And finally, to be much more clear on what we want the agent to perform, we are just giving some examples on what are the things that will make a high value lead and what are the things that will be considered as spam, what are the things that can be considered as a support request, etc. So some examples of how you want the messages to be grouped so that our AI agent will know exactly how it should perform. So this is the contact form analysis agent that we created within Relevance AI, which will analyze the contact form messages that we are getting, the contact form submissions that we are getting, and then process that particular data and give us relevant actionable intelligence so that we will be able to proceed with the next step. Now that we saw our agent and what our agent will be doing, let's now update our Google Sheet so that it contains relevant fields to populate the data that the AI agent provides. So this was our original sheet where it was having the date, first name, last name, email, phone number and message from the contact form. And now to this sheet we are going to add more items. So this is a sheet where I have added more fields to our sheet relevant to whatever information that our agent, the Relevance AI agent, will be providing us with, so that we will be able to keep track of everything from within the Google Sheets itself. So let me just explain about the new sections that I have added. So here you can see, based on the data, based on the JSON output that I configured within the Relevance AI agent, I am adding different sections like sentiment or intent. So this will tell us the sentiment or intent of that particular message. It will give the relevance score, then it will give the category. So here this category I have configured it to have the different sections or different categories that we have configured the AA to identify, like lead, support, partnership, general inquiry and spam. So we will be able to see at a glance what type of message we have received. Then I have added business fit, like whether it is fit for our business, then key indicators like the keywords, whether it is available within the message, and if it is, what are those key indicators. Then reasoning based on the business fit, it will identify why it is fit for our business, and it can even give recommendations like what are the things that we should do next. Should we respond to them with a quote, or should we respond to them with additional details, or should we schedule a meeting? So those kind of recommended actions we will be able to have in this section. Then you will see the priority level, then suggested response. So this one will be using during our next part. So this is not relevant to the current part. It is not used in this one. We'll see how we'll be able to use this in the next part of this particular video. And finally, we have the lead status. So this will always have the current status of that particular lead. So a generic set of fields which will help us process all the contact form requests that we are getting, so that it will make our life easy. So now that we have our agent and the target ready, let's go and make use of our make.com scenario to automate and connect our agent and what the agent generates that response with our Google Sheet. This is the contact form scenario that we created during the first part of this particular video series, and there we had two items, one webhook and one Google Sheet. Now we are going to expand this so that it can connect with Relevance AI as well. Now let's edit this scenario, and here we are going to add just one more module to it, which is going to be Relevance AI. So I'll search for Relevance AI, and here you can see this is the Relevance AI tools. This is the correct module, and if I click on show more, I'll be able to see the different operations that I'll be able to perform. And in this we have to select the action, which is message and agent. So this is what we'll be using to communicate with the agent that we created within our Relevance AI account. So let me just select this option, message and agent. Now before you can make use of this agent, you need to make sure to add a connection. So when you click on add connection, you will see these are the things that are required. So you will require one Relevance AI project ID, then one Relevance AI API key and one region. And one thing, it is very important when you create the Relevance AI API key is to give admin access to your API key. Then only it will work. Let me just quickly show you where you can get these details from within your Relevance AI website. So in order to generate the API key, what we need to do is to first go to the Relevance AI website, and under the account section you will see integrations and API key. So if you click on integrations and API key, you will see the different API key options that we'll be able to create, and here you have to select Relevance API keys. And once you select this Relevance API keys, you will get the option to create a new secret key. So just click this and follow the steps to create the API key, and remember to provide admin access to this key to be used with make.com. So I already created one key. See, this is the key that I have created, which I will be using with admin access. So when you create the key, it will provide you with informations like the project ID, API key and region. Just provide that information here so that you will be able to connect your Relevance AI account with your make.com. Now once you add the connection, you will be able to select the connection. Then after that, once you have the connection enabled, next thing will be to select the agent ID. So which agent you want it to execute as part of this scenario. So here you can see both my agents are listed, and I am going to use this message analyzer agent for this scenario. Next is user message. So this is the input that you want to give to the agent. In this example, we have to send the user message as input to this one. So what I'll do is I'll be making use of this message section from the submission. So if you want to send more details, like if you are collecting company website, etc., and if you want to check the relevance of that website, whether that website is a valid one, etc., then you can send those messages also to your AI agent and configure the agent to analyze that part as well. But this is just a simple demo of how you will be able to process the message, user message. You can keep this conversation part as empty. So now let me just save this one. So it is saved. So I'll just save this scenario. Remember to always save the scenario before you do anything else. Now from the previous scenario, I need to make one change in the Google Sheet document. So here it is using save contact form, right? So instead of that, I want it to make use of the new sheet that I created, which is contact form, and the data and everything is similar. And the data is same, only difference is here you can see more fields that are available. So let me just save this one. Let me save the scenario and let me just delete my dummy submission from here so that it can start fresh. Now everything is ready except for the saving to the Google Sheet part. So that we'll be able to add once you have executed this, so that we'll get some details based on the execution. So what I'll do is I'll just run this once so that it will listen to this, so that we'll be able to get the data and we'll be able to process that information. So let me just go to the contact form and make a new submission, dummy value, and in this message I'm going to simulate a message that a customer can send. So I need help with automating my social media posting using make.com. So let's say this is the message that we are getting. I am going to submit this, and now I got the success message, and here you can see this one. It received the message and it saved it to Google Sheet, and now it is being processed by our Relevance AI agent. So the agent is now performing the operation of analyzing the data. And here see, we got the response back, and here see this is the response that we received, and the data is in the answer section and it is in JSON format. Since we configured our agent to respond using JSON format, it is giving the response in JSON format. And if you look at the Google Sheet, it added that information, what are messages that we received, it added in there. Now if you go to your Relevance AI, if you go to your agent, you can click on this run section to see the execution. So if you click there, you will be able to see this one. Today, this is a message that it received. See this, I need help with automating my social media posting using make.com, and this is the response it provided. And this is the response that we are getting in here. Okay, so now since we got the response, let's process this response and save it to our Google Sheet. Let me just show you how you can do that. As you can see in the output, we have some qualifiers like this. See this, these two things we don't want because we want to process it as JSON. So first thing that we have to do will be to remove it. So in order to do that, we'll make use of the default text parser replace module of make itself. So we'll use that. So let's click on this replace option, and here in the pattern section we'll use the pattern. So we want to replace anything like this or this. So we want to replace it with new value. So new value, we'll just add one space so that it will replace with an empty space. And then we will select global match as true and also multi-line also true, because otherwise it will exit after one execution. We don't want that. And in this text we have to give the input as this one, which is the answer from Relevance AI, and we can save this. So now this will replace the JSON and other qualifiers from this one, and we'll get a clean JSON value. Now that clean JSON we have to process with the help of JSON parser. So there is default JSON parser available with make.com. So here we'll use this parse JSON module. So once we select this parse JSON, we don't need to select a data structure because it is clean JSON, so you don't have to worry about that. And in the JSON string section, we'll give the text, which is the output of the text parser after replacing those unnecessary items with space. So we'll save this. Now we have to run it once again so that we'll know the data is getting and we'll be able to save it to Google Sheet. So let me just save it first. So you can just ignore the message because it can't be the JSON parser, which will be the last item. So we'll click on run once, we'll click on run anyway. Now it is waiting for the submission. Let me just copy the same message and let me just delete this message. So I deleted this message because that was irrelevant. Now let me just come here and populate the fields once again. I'll add the original message. So let me just submit it once again. So now the submission is done. So now it will check with the agent once again to get the relevant information. And here, see this one. It is parsing the data. So this is the input. And if you look at the output will be without that JSON qualifiers, and after parsing you will get all this information. So now comes the final step. So final step is to edit our Google Sheet with all the information. So what we can do is we can actually remove this add row because we don't need to write multiple times, only at the end we need to write. But if you want to be fail safe, you can just keep it there so that even if Relevance AI is not able to process the data because of the quota issue or something, your contact form information will still be saved. So we'll just use update a row in Google Sheet. So you can go to Google Sheet and select this module, which is update a row. So I'll select this update a row option. Make sure to select the proper connection. Then here I am going to select search method. I am going to select as search from all, and I'll search for my experiment. So this is the sheet name that I have, and here sheet name I don't want it to be a map, so that I can select from the drop down. So I'll select contact form sheet name, and row number, which row I want to update. I'll use the same row number from our Google Sheet previous module. So this is the row number, so I'll select this row number as 2. And here date, first name, last name, email, phone, message. So these things are already filled. We want to fill the remaining details based on the data that we received from our Relevance AI agent. So we'll select this sentiment, and here you can use this intent as the sentiment. Then when it comes to relevance score, we have the relevance score. Then category, we can select the category. Then a business fit, we can make use of this business fit section. Then key indicators, we can select this. See, this will be an array of items depending on how many key indicators are there. Then reasoning, we can select this reasoning section. Recommended action, we can select the recommended action section. And priority level also we will be able to select accordingly. Okay, and like I mentioned, this suggested response and lead status. Lead status we can maybe add, say something like new open, like this we will be able to give. So what it will do is it will collect the data, it will save the contact form submission information. Then using Relevance AI agent, it will process the message and it will identify these items and save it to our Google Sheet. So let's save this one. Let me just save it once again. And remember to save your scenario. Our setup and scenario is ready. Now we will be able to test this. Make sure to have this scenario run immediately as data arrays. Make sure that it is enabled. So once it is done, we are now ready to test our setup. So let me just go to my Google Sheet and remove the data. So we don't need that data. Okay, so now we are going to text the contact form. So let me just refresh it, and here I am going to add, say, objects. Okay, and let me give another message. I need help with how to integrate your custom make.com module with my scenario. So we have custom modules. So let's say this is a support request on how they can make use of that custom make.com module with their scenario. So I'll just submit this. So now it will execute this one. We have to wait. So if you go to the history, you will see one new thing would have started. See, currently one is running. So we'll have to wait for that particular execution to be complete. And if you go to this one, you can see this one. Now the execution is complete and it has filled the details. And here, see this one. It identified the sentiment as this one, requesting assistance with integrating a custom make.com module. So that is correct. Then it is giving the relevance score as 7 and category, see, it identified as support. Then here it is saying business fit. It is relevant to our services as it involves make.com integration support. Then key indicators, what are the key words that are there. Then reasoning, why it arrived at that information. Then recommended action assigned to the technical support team for integration assistance, and priority level and the lead status also it automatically populated. So now we have an intelligent system which will process the customer's contact form submission message and populate the Google Sheet accordingly. Now let me just try sending one more message. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a spam message. Let's see whether it is able to identify it as a spam. Okay, let me just add the message. Say I'll add for free data storage for live visit demo.com. So this is just a spam message that I'm adding. So I'll just click on submit. So now I submitted. So now if you go to the history, if you refresh the history, you will see this one. There is one new execution that is running. We will wait for that particular execution to be complete and then we will check our Google Sheet. Okay, so now it is successful. So now if you go to our Google Sheet, we see the second demo, see second message, and here this is the message, and here see this one. It automatically identified it as spam. It gave the relevance score as 1 and it is saying that it is marked as spam, and priority level it is adding low, and this will be able to intelligently change saying that it is spam or something like that. But this is how our setup works now. So this is how our setup works. It is able to capture the data that is submitted by your potential customers. It is able to process their message to identify the key parts of that and identify the relevance of that particular message. Then it is able to save the extracted information in a meaningful format for us to be able to use it for processing later on. In short, we added intelligence to our contact form submission. Now our contact form submission process is intelligent enough to identify and give you feedback on what are the things that you need to do for that particular submission, whether it is relevant, whether it is high priority. We'll be able to have all that information in an automatic manner. And all this without having to write any code. This is a sample no-code way with make.com, Google Sheet and Relevance AI to automate your contact form submission and to analyze that submission. I hope you enjoyed this. So stay tuned for the third part where we'll be seeing what is next with this analyzed data. Make sure to like, subscribe and share this video and channel. See you in the next video. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. Your support really helps. Have ideas or suggestions? Drop them in the comments. Let's build together. At Shogini, we offer expert no-code make.com and Python AI automation consulting with ready-to-use modules to jumpstart your projects. Stay tuned and subscribe for more.